Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Raynday Gaming. Today, we're taking a look at a special visit to the past of what Paladins used to look like and all of the things this game has done to progress to the state to where it is now. And if you're curious about what that is, I've covered the state of Paladins and the future of Paladins in videos previously last week, so make sure to watch those and get the full story. One of my viewers did guess that this was a reference to Christmas time and the fact that it was the ghost of Christmas present, Christmas future, and Christmas past. And in many ways, Christmas is something that I wanted to allude to here, but I'm not calling you guys Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm not really trying to do that. There's all love here between me and all the viewers, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in for these videos, and I think they've been really fun as well. One of the things I know about the past is that it changes us and shapes us more so than anything else. Our present, we don't really have a good time dealing with things that are rough in the present because they feel very stressful and we're not sure what the future holds. The future sometimes can look optimistic, but when the present is rough, it can be hard to hold that kind of vision of we will succeed. But what helps you to keep that vision is what you've done with present situations beforehand. How have you gone into situations that maybe have felt like they were putting you down and that you were out for the count, but you somehow made it through? Having multiple experiences like that can make a human being that much stronger and give them the understanding that, yes, this is hard right now, but I will get through it just like I got through that last time, or just like I got through it when it was my grandmother who was passing away, or when it was my mom who was dealing with cancer, or when it was me who was back against the ropes, no money, and I needed a job to make sure my family was okay. All of those things help to shape our present and our future, and very much like games, that past helps to shape the current audience, the current player base, and of course, help them understand that the future will either be promising or one that they're not looking forward to. In the case of Paladins, I think this is definitely something to look forward to as we have gone through some of the more interesting and I want to say wild rides of what this game has been in order to get to where we are now, which is a great game with a great future ahead of it. And the reason I can be confident in that is because I remember these moments. I mean, it's always fun to sit back in class or sit back with some old friends from high school, or maybe you're still in high school and you get to hang out, or maybe you're in college and you get to go back visit with some friends now that you're going back home for the holidays. And isn't it fun to chat about old memories? So I thought we'd do that today. I just bring up my favorite memories of Paladins and reminisce with you guys of the times that we've had in order to get to where we are now. I mean, the very beginning, first of all, when I started playing Paladins, I remember it was around the holidays. It was around November. I believe of like 2015, right when open beta had come through, or closed beta. And I remember playing Ruckus. I remember just being absorbed. I was playing On Her at the time, like getting this crazy game for Smite, and I'd set my computer in my cousin's room, and I just remember Paladins. Oh my God, I got a key for Paladins. So I opened it up. I played Ruckus. And back at that time, Ruckus actually had aerial assault naturally. He could actually hover naturally as a champion. I was like, this guy is so cool. And I got my butt whooped. But, it was still a fun time. And it kind of hit this mode. Like, I think a lot of people, when they first saw that iteration of Paladins, they were like, you know what? And it might have been, I think it was November 2011. It had to have been, because I came in 6 months after that, which had to be 2016. So, it wasn't 2017, that's for sure. So, yeah, it had to be like 2015 November. And then basically, I think people who got that glimpse of Paladins really were excited. Paladins back then, if you didn't know, used to be a huge map. And what would happen is, in this big map, think like Jaguar Falls, Fish Market, and Frog Isle, all those points, they exist on one map. Now, in the middle is the Frog Isle point. On the left is the Fish Market point. And on the far right is the Jaguar Falls point. And what happens is every round, the point randomly selects which one you have to go capture. So you hop on your mount and you traverse this huge map and you go to the one that it says, maybe it's the right side of the Jaguar Falls point, and you fight there. You capture, you try to push into a payload, and then, of course, if you do it, you win the game. In fact, before you even did that, you actually had to shoot these siege walls. You had to siege. You actually had to shoot the wall and do enough damage while your payload was there at a certain point. They changed that, though, and it kind of set us on this interesting path of so many iterations of this game. And as you can imagine, that didn't last forever. The 3 maps in one map was a little inefficient, and I think the idea was like, hey, we have 3 maps, let's just make them individual maps. Why are we making them 3? And also things like Fernando, who could just instantly mount whenever you wanted, gain a shield, and just basically be a raid boss. That was a little hard to deal with. Yeah, because you had to keep your mounts, you know what I mean? Because they were so big. I mean, the TTK as well. I mean, let's talk about this time to kill. You guys want the time to kill to go back up. The time to kill in Paladins was forever. It literally took 80 years to kill somebody in Paladins. Like, it was hilarious. I think you could probably do a average college homework assignment before you killed a Fernando in Paladins. I actually think you could get it done. Like, you would have enough time, you know, and basically be like, you know what, let me just get this work done instead of trying to kill this guy, because it's going to take the same amount of time. Might as well just cut my losses here. I mean, it was absolutely a longer game, and it was meant to be. I mean, Drogos was hitting for 400 damage. Players still had 2,600 health. And it was a lot of fun, though, and I think it gave Paladins this personality that the best players really were going to win. And it forced you to get better. It forced you to really enjoy these engagements. And even if you died, it took a while for you to die. So you never really felt like, oh my God, I just got bursted out of nowhere. I didn't even get to play. And it was at least not as punishing. Maybe not as rewarding for casual players, but it was very punishing for those players who weren't really ready to get the hang of it yet. I mean, remember Evie as well? Like, Evie, I mean, what a great champion now. I mean, the blink, the soar, the ice block, all those talents. It's such a fun character. But back in the day, Evie used to be Ying. In fact, Evie was the character that had clones when she started. And when she would blink, she would make these clones of herself, and they would actually shoot you and do damage. And so she was all about being like this Mesmer style. You know, you look at Guild Wars 2, that Mesmer create clones. It was kind of like that. And then she would get bonus damage on blinking. Evie, at one point, I mean, Evie's history is hilarious. She used to get ice blocks that would, if she stayed in her ice block long enough, she would create this field, this frigid field that would grow around her. And if she was near you when she got out of her ice block, it would freeze you. And she could just shoot you for free with bonus damage. And then she could blink with herself in her ice block and blink into you, so you're not even near her. Her freezing field is exploding, and then she blinks near you and then explodes it, and it freezes you. You weren't even in the fight, and she shows up, freezes you, and then shoots you for double bonus damage from being frozen and also blinking. It was the go-to combo. In fact, check out my How to Play Evie guide on the Paladins game channel. That's the combo I talk about back then. That wasn't even changed that long ago. But what an incredible time. In fact, I Drop Bodies, you know, you guys remember him. I don't know if I'll be able to grab the footage, but I Drop Bodies was actually the first guy that I saw that I recognize in the PPL right now playing against that I had no idea who he was beforehand. And it's a really weird way to say that, but like the Founders Tournament, you know, that's where I met Bugsy and where I met Bird and Jera and Cuss and Doe and all these guys. And Bodies wasn't around then, but I ran into Bodies playing Evie, trying to do some videos, and this guy was just so good on Androxus, and I was like, man, who is this guy? And who would have thought that, like, for the after I actually won that game, I got my content. That video exists. Search my Evie gameplays, you will see it. And that guy actually ended up being a dude who would eventually take home, you know, a North American championship, I believe, and be able to be one of the players that I cast most frequently, you know, in the PPL. I think that's wild. So much history, you know. I mean, I remember first too. I mean, let's talk about Smite and Paladins. Oh my God! Like, you guys remember when Paladins came out? Everyone in Smite threw an uproar. I mean, it was led by many people, but the idea was that Smite was losing resources to Paladins. I mean, the community was like so against this game, and I found it very interesting and funny coming from the Paladin side and from the Smite side, because I was like, dude, what's wrong? You know, what's happening? Let's get another game. It's great. And obviously, I was going to work that game. I had some vested interest, but you know, a lot of the complaints were that Paladins lull. You know, Paladins a meme. The Smite community had a hard time adopting to the game early on, and in fact, when you do see Smite kind of not, I think, accepting Paladins, whether it be a replay of a stream or whether it be hosting when the Paladins World Champion comes on, you still see remnants of that initial phase of Paladins lull, we don't like Paladins, taking from Smite, blah, 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 that initiated when Paladins was first released. And it was a rough time. I mean, Paladins not only had to overcome a lot of the Overwatch comparisons, but had to overcome just the Smite, like, internal community, you know, stuff. And that's not an easy thing to do when your own community is kind of helping to bat you down. You're hoping those players come and play. And eventually they did. And eventually I think people now, even my good buddies and Smite casters, they respect and they enjoy Paladins. And I think that's what I can say for a majority of the people who play and engage in Smite, is that they respect the game now. It may not be their cup of tea, but there was a time when that respect was not there. I will tell you that. Oh, man, we're talking about all these talents coming in. I'm going to make a video as well about all the talents being removed in 2019. And my opinions on each one that's removed, and if there's one that I feel maybe should have been removed or what they could do or blah, blah, blah. Just really going over some of that. But talents never used to exist. I mean, talents, if you play Paladins, you only know of talents. That never used to be the case. Talents used to be basically cards. Cards were basically big game. Like, big game was a card in Paladins. You know what I mean? Like, basically, Blast Shot Cassie, that was more or less a card. And what was so interesting is that these cards had the value, and talents were never really an idea. The playstyle was all in the loadout. And I think I like the talent system. I think that helped to clarify some things. I think it gave it the right amount of a little bit more flexibility and personality without over-cluttering it, and in fact kind of simplified the cards. So the cards don't do too much. Like, they do enough, but they don't dramatically change you as much. And I think that actually is a better place for Paladins to go. But it was just so interesting, that time period as well. Oh, man. And then there was times in the game where you used to pick your deck. This is hilarious. And you would actually not know which cards you were going to get. You would pick your deck, and you would go into the game, and they experimented with this once. And it was fun. It was fun, but it was also like very like card game RNG, where if you got this great card, that's crazy, like a legendary card, but you don't know what round it's going to show up in. Like, you would get to pick a card after like every round, or you'd be able to pick a card, and the cards that showed up that you could pick were like slowly adding to your deck of like stats that you had. So like, you pick Victory Rush, you get 80% movement speed for like 8 million seconds. And then you get another card and you get like, 2% crowd control reduction. And you're like, damn it, where's my like 50% lifesteal card? You're just like waiting and trying to go for it. That I felt like that was such a funny and interesting time. It's a cool idea, but I almost feel like that's a different game. You know what I mean? Like, that RNG into a shooter is a little bit more of a different game. And I think Paladins really felt that the customization part was important, but not that RNG part. It was more of like strategic customization, not random customization. I think that was a very, very good thing to do. Man, we talked about our esports. I mean, that was the first time I ever went and casted Paladins as well, back our first Founders Tournament in Jönköping, Sweden. That's actually where I met Hi-Res Vox. It's where I met Drybear as well. It was a great time. We were able to cast. We were able to hang out. We had some food together. I know Vox got mad sick. I mean, I was like doing my whole, steam room in this little Jönköping kind of hotel that we got. I like turned the shower on nonstop. I was just trying to get my sinuses clear, because I was like, I cannot be up here flying out to Sweden on my own dime, and basically not able to speak, So I tried to stay very healthy, and Vox remembers that moment very clearly. That's when me and Vox became good friends and brothers there. But I remember also there was this time when we went down for 4 hours. Oh my God. You guys remember this? The whole tournament went down for 4 hours. This is my first day, and no one's seen me. I got Hi-Res Stu over there. I got Hi-Res Mick. I got all these high-level executives in Hi-Res, and I'm sitting there undressed because I don't go on stage till the next day. So they're sitting there and they're like, what are we going to do, guys? We can't go down for 4 hours. It's DreamHack. Yo, let's just get a bunch of Smite pros and have somebody interview them. So eventually I get a call and they say, yo, Raynday, where are you? I'm like, I'm right here. What do you mean? I'm watching. I'm in my casual clothes. They're like, you're about to get on stage for however long you can and stall out by interviewing all these Smite pros. You basically have no idea who they are. And I was like, okay. And I did it. And I went up on stage, and I kid you not, they lined up 20 to 25 Smite pros and coaches. And I knew about 5 names. I remember messing with Zapman, saying, Zap have my babies. I remember messing with Baskin, or Funballer. I think I called Funballer a support at the time. But it was me on stage. I interviewed a cosplayer that walked up. I started messing with the crowd. They said go. And on stage, I was there for an hour. And by the time we were done, we got our systems back up and we started. And I remember that was actually my first real introduction, not only to Smite on stage, but also to but just to Paladins and just to this on-stage performance. I wasn't supposed to go on yet. So that was like really me, So I thought that was interesting. It was one of those moments in life where you're just like, I could say no or I could just do it. And I did it, and that was a very powerful thing. I think I got a lot of wide level respect early on because of that, and got some opportunities as a result. But that was just a crazy, crazy moment in life. Always say yes when those things happen, by the way, guys. Always say yes when those things happen. I remember Grover. Oh, my God, Grover, guys. Grover used an axe as a melee champion. Grover was all melee. He'd be vining to you. This was Nick's favorite, too. He would just love to swing and axe. He calls himself a mongoloid all the time. And you could see why he loved this thing. It was absolutely just incredible. And that was really where Grover came. He wasn't a ranged character for a while. We would do that 24/7 stream that entire time. So we were playing all these champions and developing our favorites. We had a one-time cast as Black Magic and Alfonso in character and stream it for a period of a couple of weeks. That's where the Black Magic memes comes from, because I was actually casting in character with Nick for that. And that was just a blast, man. You guys remember Aggression? Do you guys remember Aggression? The card that gave you 5% to 15% damage amp? It was like the worst card because you couldn't buy Cauterize if you bought it, and all the noobs just went and looked at damage and said, yes, I want more damage, and didn't realize that 90% anti-heal was just to the left and that was more important. Do you remember that? Oh, man. And then the Haven metas, you could buy Deft Hands on champions that didn't have to reload. Oh my God, man. There were so many things that happened. And now look at us. The TTK change. We had so many times where people said, I'm out. This game is done. TTK changes, you're going to ruin the game. And the TTK bumped up, and actually more players retained. And we lost a few old ones, but and rest in peace for those who did leave. But the game stayed good. It got even better, to be honest. And then the TTK changed, and then we had some Essence, and then Essence was eventually taken away. And then we had some changes to, obviously the systems internally in the game. We added 14 new champions, and all of them had a lot of distinct differences in 2017 that allowed for some variety of playstyles and some very OP champs, some very underplayed champs. And then, of course, we had OB64, and I'm not going to mention too much about that, but that eventually, I think, was a really big moment for the game, because it was a road to version 2 Woods, right? And I think Paladins and High-Res took the one less traveled by, which is amazing to me. They said, this isn't actually working. Like, we like it, but, it's not really working, and our players don't really feel like it's working. So let's just do what our community wants us to do here, and we're going to revert it all. And I think when you have somebody or something that can take that road less traveled by, that we see so many communities, getting on right now for other companies that do one thing, like a loot box or whatever, and they just stick with it and they don't make any changes and they say, blah, blah, screw you. That to me is always that community, that understanding, that iteration, the willingness to try and fail and then have no ego and get back up and try something else. To me, that is always what has inspired me about High-Res. And it's one of the reasons why I've loved working here and love being a part of this company. And love doing what I do. This is the first time I've actually talked about it publicly, but recognizing your past is important, guys. I actually haven't mentioned this, but my grandmother passed away on Saturday, and then my mom's mom, and it was a very important moment for her, and there was something really special. She was able to go visit her just 2 days before she passed. And she died 2 days later. It was like I saw her, her mom said, I saw my daughter, I saw my granddaughter, and that was it. I was good, and then I was ready to go. And to me, there's something about what happened inside of me that I reminisced on this past that she had given me, and these moments that I had in Alaska. And I'm not there now, and they're not with me here in my present. They're not going to necessarily be a part of my future. I don't know why I'd go much back up there, but the past times that I have had with her have given me so much joy, and they've given me so much, so much of a vibe of, I think, a part of me that sometimes I don't tap into, that when I really look at, helps to declare where I want to go in life. When you look at the past moments, they're either successful or they're upsetting, or they're happy or they're sad, but they help direct you and drive you towards your future. And there's no better learning opportunity than to look at that past. And when I look at the life my grandmother led and the love that she had, the joy that she brought, I look at and say that that's something I could bring into my life all the time. Like, I don't need to go into my future and hope that I learn. I can look right back at what I've done and see that this is where I need to go, that this works, and let's just keep working it. So I send that blessing to myself for these holidays as I learn to continue to be a little happier, a little bit more joyful all the time, brush things off, smile at the pain sometimes, and smile at the insults, because people will always throw things your way to try to knock you down if you're feeling good. And just treat poise and relaxation and those things as priorities in your life. And I think that your present and your future will look a lot better. So thank you, Paladins. Thank you for allowing me to do a series like this. Thank you to the viewers who have cared, who have watched, who have listened, and who have cared enough to, I think, comment and share their thoughts about the game. So leave with me your favorite memories now. Go ahead in the comment section below. Let's immortalize some of our favorite memories in this game. And let's talk about, I think, how those memories, how those things have helped to make us, whether we enjoy this game more, learn something about ourselves through this game, and what we look forward to, of course, in the future now that we've examined kind of where we've come from. I've had a blast sharing some of these memories with you guys. I've had a blast doing this series. There's more to come. I have a top 5 ready. It will be released soon. Get ready and get patient, but be ready for the premiere in probably the next 7 days. And make sure you're there. As always, my guys, my girls, my paladinos, never give up, never stop gaming. I'll see you in the realm.